How you doing? Minuteman Preparedness. So I wanted to make a video discussing, for those who are interested in getting started, or if you've already started in the prepping world, some little tips and tricks and things you want to think about as you begin your journey. I'll be breaking this video up into multiple segments because the topic of prepping or preparedness is it's enormous. It's large. There's a lot of things involved in the world, and it depends on where you live, what you're prepping for, and what exactly you want to accomplish in your prepping goals. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is one thing a lot of people don't typically think about when they're prepping is home preparedness, their actual physical structure, their home. Whether it be your own, in a home on a small lot, if you have a lot of acreage, or if you're in an apartment. All of those different residences offer, security, but there's a fine area of what you have to do to secure your area of operation. So one of the first things you need to look at is your doors and your windows. Do you have doors that are secure? Are they solid or are they hollow? Typically, interior doors are going to be hollow, and your exterior doors are going to be solid. But do you have a secure door? Along with your door, do you have good locks? Do you have a good name brand door handle and deadbolt? Typically, a lot of people will go, when you first move into a home, especially if it's just been built, they're going to have very inexpensive contractor grade door handles and deadbolts. They're typically 4, maybe 5 pins, very easy to pick. They're not that great. So you may want to look into upgrading your door handle and deadbolt to like a Schlage. They offer really good commercial and residential locks for your doors. Also, one thing you see sometimes is the hinges. Your doors leading into your home, your hinges need to be on the inside. They should not be outside of the door where everyone can access the hinge. The hinge is on the outside. You can easily pop the pins out the hinges and easily gain access to the residence. Along with the locking, let me back that up. With the locks, a lot of people will have glass in their door. A lot of them will have the real nice stained looking glass in their front doors. And then they have a thumb latch on the inside of the door for their deadbolt. Kind of defeats the purpose of the deadbolt because all you have to do is break the glass, stick your hand in and undo the deadbolt. So if you do have glass in the area of your deadbolt, then you need to have it keyed on the inside as well as the outside, but have that key easily accessible to those inside. So if you have to get out in case of an emergency, but out of reach if somebody breaks the glass and is trying to reach in to get the key. Along with that is windows. Do you have a decent quality window? Are your windows locked? A lot of the older single pane windows, they have the old school locks. And if you're a little bit older, you can stick a butter knife in there and spin those locks around easily. So a lot of people would drill holes on each side of the window and push a wooden dowel or a thin nail in through there just a little bit. So even if that lock was popped with a butter knife or a flat tool, you still wouldn't be able to get the window open. Do you have good lighting around outside of your residence? Now, this mostly pertains to those who actually have a house and not an apartment. But if you have a house, do you have lighting all the way around your residence? Whenever you pull up to your home, are you able to see the doors that you're entering into? Are they well lit at nighttime? So you can see around your residence. If you look out of your window, is it well lit enough to where you can see all around your home outside of the windows during the hours of darkness? Another thing a lot of people don't think about is the landscaping around your home. So yes, the bushes and dwarf trees look nice around your home, but they also provide an area for those looking to do you harm or breaking into your residence. It offers them a place to hide. So you want to keep shrubs and ornamental trees or whatnot, dwarf trees. You want to keep them low so you can see behind them, and you want to keep them cut back off of the house. So if you're walking around your home, you can easily see the back side, the back wall behind that shrub or the tree. You don't want to offer anyone enough space to hide themselves if you're pulling up at nighttime or pulling up in the daytime if you have some that are massively overgrown. So that's something else to look out for. One popular thing a lot of people have now is the doorbell cameras. That doorbell cameras, a lot of them have a fisheye lens, and they offer a good view right there at the door, and 40-degree, 45-degree angle, whatnot, right there in front. But can you see around the rest of your residence? Do you have CCTV, wired or wireless, around your home? If you do you have it set up, on your laptop, on your tablet, on a TV inside of your home where you can see them when you're at home? Do you have an app on your phone? So if you're away from home, or if you're in the bed, or you're in the bathroom, you can easily and quickly check those cameras from your telephone. And one thing, if you do have wireless cameras, you want to make sure you have a good password on those so they can't easily be gained. Access can't be gained by someone, outside the residence or down the street who's picking up the signal from your Wi-Fi. A lot of these cameras, especially from the big box stores, it's just like the routers. A lot of them are generic passwords. They have gotten better in the past years of making some pretty intricate passwords, but I wouldn't want to risk it. Take a couple extra minutes if you do have that type of setup, and change those passwords on your router and your wireless cameras. So do you know your neighbors? Where I grew up, we knew everybody. Our entire road, everybody knew everybody. Where I am now, it's still pretty much the same. Know the majority of people around me. You know their names, you know who they are, you know where they work, you know small portions of their family, you know their vehicles, but if you don't know your neighbors, then you don't know who's living next to you. You don't know, their history, who they are, what they drive. So you need to know your neighbors. Know if they're a decent person or not. If some sort of emergency situation occurs, are they going to be the one who is willing to help you out and you help them out? Or are they going to be the one who comes and takes what you have and, kicks you to the side or does something even worse? So you need to know your neighbors. Along with knowing your neighbors, you need to know your area, the crime in your area. Do you live in a gated community? Do you live way out in a rural area where you don't have a neighbor, for several miles? Do you live in a neighborhood? You need to know the crime in those areas. In a bad situation, knowing the crime and what you could potentially be facing with dealing with people in the general area can help you out. Now, of course, in a bad situation, there will be people from outside of the community or outside of your area that will migrate your direction to try to take what you have. So knowing those outside areas is also a good idea. So moving from that into several of the things that people really think about when they think about prepping. They think about water, they think about food, shelter, which we've just discussed, and medication. Well, let me backpedal for a second. Talking about homes, I discussed if you have a house, but not if you live in an apartment. An apartment is going to be the same aspect, with the exception you're not really going to have to worry about the outside lighting. That a lot of that may be out of control. CCTV will be out of your control. Besides, possibly having a Ring doorbell. At your front door, there's not a whole lot there that you can cover besides, the doorbell. Where if you're on the ground floor, having one of those, a Wi-Fi camera or a Ring doorbell set up at your back door if you're on the ground floor. But, making sure your door's secure and locked, the windows, those things still apply to you. But some of the other things, as for the landscaping, things like that, some of those may be out of your control. If there is that type of an issue, you may be able to talk to, management, see if they can have, some of that cut down, cleaned up. You may be able to do something like that. So jumping back to food, water, and medications. So a lot of people think of those as some of the fundamentals, the things you really need to have. And they are. And FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, which most of us don't care for because they don't really do a good job at their primary goal, emergency management. They recommend 72 hours, so 3 days worth of food, water, medication, supplies, of what you need to have for an emergency situation. It may be okay if you're limited on funds to start out that way. If you're limited on funds, you have to do what you can. But 3 days, it's laughable. That's 3 days is not going to do much for you. It's a good place to try to start, work your way to, especially if you're limited on funds, like I said. But 3 days worth of food, water, and medications, prescription, over-the-counter, and medical supplies. So it's recommended 1 gallon of potable water, potable being drinking water, per person per day. It's kind of the base standard for that. So 1 gallon of water per person per day. And that would be, for drinking and cooking. And also, washing off your face. Myself, I have way in excess of, a gallon per person per day. With my preparedness, I don't think in, days or weeks. My preparedness extends, to 6 months to a year. But I'm also in an area where I can obtain water, on my own without actually having to store it. But I do have a large store of potable water. When it comes to water, if you're getting it from, a source outside of it being bottled, you need to make sure you know how to clean that water, through filtration to make sure you get rid of any organisms that can make you ill or sick, such as dysentery. You do not want a lot of these waterborne illnesses. They'll make you sick, make you vomit, diarrhea, and every time you do any of those things, you're losing hydration in your body. And also, if you're on municipal water sources, those can easily be contaminated, whether it be a storm and it's flooded, they have a power loss, they weren't able to get the water cleaned and purified the way it was supposed to be, and ever finding out now terrorist attacks where they found out that they've actually infiltrated the computer systems of a lot of sanitary districts, and they can alter the chemical levels in the water to either put more chemicals in it and make you sick, or take some of the cleaning agents out of the water, and now you're drinking dirty water that could be potentially infected with have dysentery, or whatever it may be in it. So you need to know how to clean your water. Boiling it will kill a lot of these things, but you still have to filter it to get it clean and get it to that potable standard where it won't make you sick. So food, there's many different ways you can go with food. The easiest is to go, things that are easily prepared. In an emergency situation, having a large store, of frozen foods, that may do you okay for a day or two, as long as you keep the door shut where it stays cool in there and you have the ability to cook it. But if you don't have the ability to generate power at your home, either solar or a generator, that food's going to spoil. So you need things that store easily, they keep for a long time, and they're you're able to prepare them easily. Now, a lot of these foods also are highly processed. We know the effects of eating a lot of processed foods. It's not good for you. You need to go, with whole food options. But in an emergency situation, you're going to have to kind of do what you need to do to get you through that situation. Obviously, if you're able to gain access to whole foods via, growing your own food, picking it, canning it, buying fresh fruits and vegetables at the store, and freeze drying them or canning them, that's also a very good option and viable for some people, not for others. First off, dehydrators are extremely expensive. I don't own one myself. And canning, there are a few things you have to have, and you have to know how to do it. So having things such as canned soups, canned meat, especially tuna in the pouch, great sources of protein, the chicken and the tuna. Having some carbs, whether it be, pastas, you can cook those easily in boiling water. Ramen, which there has been some issues with ramen here lately with making people sick, but I do have some stores of ramen in my food stores for emergencies. The freeze-dried, like the bagged potatoes, those are good, very easy to cook up. Throw in some boiling water, stir them up, you're good to go. But having those things, ready to eat, if you have to leave your home, you can throw, especially a lot of the freeze-dried stuff, the pastas, you can throw them in a backpack, throw them in your car, and you can go. Canned items get a little heavier, but canned items hold for a long time too. One thing about canned items is they do store past their expiration date if you decide to eat things past their expiration date. But one tip is the top of the can. If you push down on the can and it pops in and you let it go and it pops back out, it's gone rancid. It's no good. But if it's still tight at the top and tight at the bottom, that can is still good. The food in it should still be good. It's always, a smart option if it's past the date, especially way past the date. Open it up, give it the old smell test, the look test, and see if it looks like it may still be good. So another thing is medication, that being prescriptions and over-the-counter. If you're on prescription medication, especially things that you need to keep you alive, go to your doctor. See if you can get, instead of a 2-week or a month prescription, see if you can get them to push that out to maybe, a month and a half, 2 months. Get you an extra stock of prescription medications. Over-the-counter medications, very important. A lot of our supply of over-the-counter medications and the materials used to make those come from overseas, China and India. So if we get involved in a situation with China, do we really think that China is still going to provide the materials and or the actual medication itself? Or are they going to provide that to us if we're, in a situation with them, wrapped up in a war or, something to that effect? So over-the-counter medications, your standard headache medication, acetaminophen, migraine medications, diarrhea medication, things for, I've lost my train of thought. Motion sickness medication, any type of ointments, creams, burn medication. You need to have a good home pharmacy when it comes to that. If you run out of Tylenol, you need to be able to go to your home pharmacy, open up that closet, and have a couple boxes there. When you use a box, next time you go to the store, purchase a box. Keep it filled. It's the same when you're going to the store to buy food. If you're buying one can or of canned chicken or fruit or vegetable, whatever it may be, buy 2. Remember, 1 is none, 2 is 1. Every time you go to the store, buy 1 or 2. Stack it away. Put it into your pantry. And so, slid off topic there for just a second, dealing with the medication. But getting back into the medical area, so we've covered the prescription and the over-counters. Whatever you may need, have extra. Make you a home pharmacy. So medical supplies, medical tape, different size bandages, rolled gauze, medical shears, those very easy things that everybody uses, the little scrapes and cuts and boo-boos, rubbing alcohol, hydrogen peroxide, all of those type of things. You need to have that. You also need to have, and along with having these, you need to have some training behind it. You need to have items for what they call an IFAK, an individual first aid kit. I call it a shoot kit, tourniquet, hemostatic gauze, which clots the blood, packing gauze, compression bandage. A lot of people call it Israeli bandage. You need to have those type of things also available to you in case there is a emergency situation. Along with those medical items, you need to have hard copies of educational material, that being books. And all of this, you can slide over to my Instagram, Minuteman Preparedness. I have lots of information on there when it comes to starting a prepper library. Books that I have in there, everything from survival, medical training, medical books, home remedies, everything like that. If you slide over to Minuteman Preparedness on Instagram, a lot of the stuff I'm talking about right now, I have detailed information in there that you can actually look at, read, write it down, screenshot it, whatever you need to do. So with the things I've just talked about, review this video and make some notes. Work towards, getting your home set up and secure. Work on getting some water, food, medications, prescription, and over-the-counter, your boo-boo items, your bandages, rolled gauze, things like that. And, some beginner IFAK items. Start working on getting those prepared. I'll go in depth later on in another video breaking down IFAK items and the importance of having those in your home and in your vehicles. So work on what I've just talked about. If I gave you some ideas, if you're already moving this route, and I mentioned a couple things that you didn't think about, I'm sure I've forgot some things. I've got some notes here in front of me, but I'll review these again in the next video, and then break down into several more topics getting into prepping. So with that, stay safe. Minuteman out.